Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We have with us Amyn Sarif, who is the president of CyberRisk Solutions Incorporated. Amyn is well experienced, knowledgeable, and skilled in the area of third-party risk management, and we are very excited for your talk, Amyn. I'm going to hand it over to you whenever you're ready.
Thank you very much. And I'd like to thank the Risk and Insurance Students Study Center for the opportunity for me to present today on this topic. It is an interesting topic. And it's a topic that a lot of people don't think about when it comes to cybersecurity, but it is a key topic when it comes to protecting your organization financially from cybersecurity. And with that, I'm going to get started. Again, my name is Amyn Sarif. There's some of my credentials if you'd like to connect with me on LinkedIn. I spent most of my career in telecom at one of the big three at TELUS in the engineering department. I'm an economics and finance major from York University. But I got into cybersecurity about 10 years ago. And I got into cybersecurity when I was actually doing business case analysis for cybersecurity projects. And I'm sitting there going, wait a second, I'm on the wrong side of the table here. Got into cybersecurity, which has just led me to specialize in third-party risk management, security assessments, risk analysis. And then I got picked up, I left TELUS to go to a pure cyber company for about 2.5 years, where I got to play with cybersecurity end to end, learning regulation in the process, learning laws and how those apply to cybersecurity, and learning about insurance and how that applies to cybersecurity. I got to play with every single industry out there: banking, insurance, manufacturing, retail. So it's been nice. It's been a great journey, and I look forward to continuing that in this field. And today's discussion is going to be around insurance and risk management, because a lot of things have started to change with respect to cybersecurity, insurance, and managing risk. With that, I'm going to get started. Just to let you know, if you have any questions, please feel free to let me know in between slides. I cannot see the chat, so I will depend on May to actually help me with that. Feel free to interrupt me, because I'd like this to be an open dialogue. If you guys have any questions, I don't want you guys to wait till the end or miss a point. So with that, let's get started. We're going to start off by talking about the current cyber threat landscape. Okay, when you're looking at it, and insurance. So you're looking at the current threat landscape. There are things that will impact an organization. Why do we get insurance? We get insurance for risk management. We get insurance for financial security. We get insurance for peace of mind. We get insurance to protect us from legal and other issues that come from not having that insurance. And we also get insurance for future planning. And cyber insurance has been around for a while, but we got to see what is causing us to need to buy that insurance. And so when you look at the current cyber threat landscape, you look at what are the key factors that are causing companies stress when it comes down to continuation of business. And some of these key factors is ransomware and phishing. Those ransomware and phishing is right now the major threat across all industries. It's what stops the business from running. Okay, ransomware, this powered by AI. Everybody's heard AI has been the buzzword for the last couple of years. It's really come around, especially with DeepSeek, with ChatGPT, all the other different AI models that are around there. But AI can be used for good, and AI can be used for evil. When you look at AI, it becomes increasingly sophisticated for criminals to actually use that in order to make better phishing emails, mimic real-time voices, With respect to that, it brings me down to different scenarios where criminals are leveraging AI to actually enhance their attacks and their tactics that they're using. And they're using deepfake attacks, which is increasing. If I take you back to 2021 in Dubai, a bank in Dubai had actually lost $35 million because somebody mimicked the bank director, and approved the transaction. He called in to make a transaction of $35 million. And so that's how AI is fooling people into losses. Another big area is supply chain vulnerabilities. Now, supply chain is anything that you use from a third party. Now, supply chain traditionally in manufacturing is anything that goes along the route to get your product built and sent out to the client. Okay, but supply chain now, with the increase in cloud computing, with the increase in SaaS services, with all those increases in modern technology, it allows you to go to market a lot faster. But each one of those entities that are using SaaS-based solutions, software as a service solutions, to help you get to market easier, have become your supply chain. Now, some of these supply chains have access to your network. Some of these supply chains have access to your data. Some of these supply chains are part of the manufacturing product, your end product, to get to the client. All of these will impact the business if they are taken out. And so supply chain has really grown in terms of third-party risk management. So when people say supply chain, they're referring to third-party risk management, a company that is not your own company, that you are utilizing to provide a service, a product, or even or any type of product service to your business to get your business running. And this could include HR, in terms of your payroll. It's being contracted out to a company like ADP, right? So they have access to your payroll, they have access to your data, they have access to all the employees. You could have MailChimp sending out emails on your behalf. And so that's your third party. These are all your third parties. They become huge in the fact of third party incidents and ransomware. So the attackers get in from a third party, they attack your network, they'll look to attack multiple organizations at the same time. So what they'll do is they'll sit in your network and see how many organizations can we take down at one time in order to get the most out of this from a ransomware perspective. The last point here is the geopolitical tensions which influence cybersecurity strategies. Now, this is your Russia, your China, Iran, North Korea, who have built out teams of attackers to attack nations, to attack organizations, to either collect data as much as they can and then resell that data to fund their operation, or to take you down to show a force of muscle. And so when you look at all of these put together, you'll see that from a cyber insurance perspective, there's a lot at stake here financially for any organization. And the average cost of a data breach is now starting to cost about $4.88 million. So with this being said, the need for cyber insurance to actually help offset some of the costs is huge. Any questions so far? So if you look at cyber insurance, okay, it's become a critical tool for businesses to reduce the financial impact that when they're associated with a cyber breach or a cyber incident. Okay, you look at some of the key coverage areas in insurance, and some of these areas are if you have a data breach, the response to that data breach, business interruption. If your business is closed for 2 or 3 days, or in some cases, even a few hours, that has a huge financial impact. You look at it, cyber insurance to cover you from a legal perspective, because you will eventually get lawsuits from people who said that you've lost my identity, I've had to replace everything, you've lost business, you weren't able to supply that product to me, so I'm suing you for that. You look at it for cyber extortion defense, how to protect against that, and you look at it for recovery and replacement of lost or stolen data or assets. Now, and that cyber insurance does not cover everything. Right now, 44% of insurance claims are being denied. Why are they being denied? If you look at it, there is an expectation, a level of expectation that the insurance industry has with respect to organizations to do their due diligence and due care before they pay out. You cannot leave the front door open of your house and say you got robbed if it's wide open and left open on a daily basis. So this relates to poor security processes, okay? When you don't have proper security controls or proper security measures in place to actually protect your organization, it's negligence. If you've had prior breaches, right? It won't cover prior breaches. So after you've had a breach, you say, oh, I should have had cyber insurance. Let me get the cyber insurance now. Can you cover the past breaches? No, it's not going to cover it. It doesn't cover human error. So if unmaliciously somebody makes a mistake and it lands up causing a breach and it's found that it's human error, a lot of policies may not cover that. It does not cover acts of war or terrorism. So if it's a nation state attack, cyber insurance will not pay out. They may pay out partially, but it may not pay out because of the fact that we don't deal with nation state attacks. It's an act of war. Okay. And then if there's upgrades to technologies, costs related to improving your network, it's not going to pay for the upgrades to upgrade. So insurance is not going to pay for those upgrades and new technology in order for you to have those applications in place. The benefits of cyber insurance, there are benefits because of the fact that when you get cyber insurance, there's a certain level of expectation. So a lot of cyber insurance companies offer services to help you improve your coverage in your organization. So what they'll do is they'll give you access to cybersecurity experts and resources. They'll help you out for incident response. They'll do risk management prevention services to enhance your security posture. This makes your organization stronger, so there's less of an impact when that breach happens. And they can also be there to support your business continuity before and after a breach, like during a breach and after the incident. One big key here, cyber insurance is not a substitute for comprehensive cybersecurity practices. That means you do have to have your controls in place in order for you to be protected first before the insurance says, okay, now I'll do it. The other thing the other quick point that I wanted to make on this slide is that the fact that there's different types of cyber coverage. And sometimes there's a lot of organizations that don't get the right coverage. So if you look at the chart at the bottom there, you can have coverage for network security. You can have cyber insurance for liability. You can have cyber insurance for data breach insurance. You can have cyber insurance for business interruption. Each one of these is a separate component of cyber insurance. And the more that you get, the higher the premiums are going to be. You look at it, you're not going to be able to protect everything, but it's important to have some level of protection. Okay? But how do we start to protect? So basically, insurance organizations are looking for you to have a cyber risk assessment. Sorry, before I go on, are there any questions? Perfect. Insurance organizations are looking for you to have to do your part in terms of an assessment. Okay, so cyber risk assessment is very important. And what does a cyber risk assessment do? Okay, it is a process to identify and prioritize the risks and threats and vulnerabilities within your own organization. So what this does is when you do an assessment, you actually get a baseline as to where you should be and where you are. And that gap is essentially your risk, right? So what you're doing on so the components of a risk assessment basically boil down to basically risk identification. Okay, this is cataloging, identifying your assets, identifying your hardware, software, data, and your infrastructure. Then evaluating your risk. So you have to do a risk evaluation, assessing the likelihood of a potential impact if you get breached. Okay. Then your risk prioritization. Okay, so you've identified where your gaps are. Let's prioritize what's the most important gaps to fix first. Right. So there's risk prioritization and your treatment. And this is where cyber insurance comes in, because there are many different ways of treating risks. You can mitigate the risk, you can avoid the risk, you can accept the risk, or you can transfer the risk. When you look at cyber insurance, it's transferring the risk because you're shifting the financial burden of cyber incidents to an insurance provider. You can have different types of transfer. You can have a shared transfer where you go with the third parties and you say, if I get breached because of you, you're going to take care of this from your insurance. I'm going to take care of this from my insurance. There's different ways of doing that insurance and transfer of the risk. Or you can take the risk on yourself and pass that on to the insurance company through your own organization. Okay, so the benefits of conducting regular cyber assessments. Well, what does this do for you? This actually helps improve your security posture. Now, when I'm saying improve your security posture, this is making sure that the doors are locked. This is making sure that you've got vulnerabilities that you're addressing, proactively addressing weaknesses before they're exploited. It can also be, it's also part of cost reduction because it helps reduce the cost of an incident because you're ready, you understand what controls are in place, what you have to put into place. And when you're doing that assessment, you then start to realize, oh my God, I need to have my data segmented. I don't know right now if I have everybody that has access to the data that doesn't need access to that data. Well, how about we just put role-based access where if your role requires for you to use that data, you will have access. If your role does not require you to use that data, you will not have access. And that is a way of segmenting who gets access to the data and who doesn't. There's also regulatory compliance. So now what we're starting to see across the board is a lot of regulations that are coming in order to support having a assessment done so that you are your cyber posture is built to a certain level in order to protect your organization in the event of a breach. And then it also provides you with informed decision making. Assessments allow you to have the insights to help your leaders of the organization make decisions about where the cybersecurity investments should be placed and put policies in place in order to protect the organization. Okay. With that being said, it can also be challenging because a lot of companies need to, in my opinion, need to look at a third party to go out there and do these assessments because they have the specialized expertise and the tools. And threats are constantly changing. It's dynamic. They are ever changing in terms of you can have today, you can have a 0-day attack tomorrow without understanding what went wrong. You can have things changing as patches get released on different softwares, and you can have breaches happen from people who don't have multi-factor authentication or people who don't have proper security posture. And now with the increase in the number of third-party vendors in an organization, even the smallest organization has at least 1,000 vendors that they deal with. And I would say about 10% of those vendors would be critical vendors to your organizations, which would have some form of attachment to either your network, your data, or your supply chain. So that's where it starts to get complex. And you add in there the complexity of IT environments, cloud services, IoT devices, and it just piles on. Any questions so far?
There is a question in the chat. Which NIST or ISO frameworks would you recommend to conduct the cyber risk assessments?
Excellent question. So if you look at the standards, there is the ISO standard, there is the NIST standard, there is the CIS 18. As long as the general rule is to have a framework that you can build according to your organization that aligns with your organization. North American standards is based on NIST. NIST 2.0 is the latest. NIST 1.3 was a previous version. And when you look at NIST 2.0, you see these standards starting to grow into areas where they're starting to look at different areas of cybersecurity that they didn't look at before in previous standards. So NIST 2.0 actually looks at governance. It looks at third party and has a larger emphasis on third party. ISO standard is used primarily in Europe. Now, there is differences between the standards, and there is differences in level of security that's provided. But overall, if you're following one of those standards, they're all aligned with respect to protecting, detecting, monitoring, reacting, and having continuity in terms of reviewing your cyber network. So North America, I would say, is more aligned with the NIST standard, and Europe is more aligned with the ISO standard. Now, you do have regulation from Europe, GDPR, and the most recent DORA, which was just launched on January 17th of this year, that extends out to companies that are doing business in Europe that are not in Europe. So there's an expectation for them to be compliant. If you have multinational organizations, so Starbucks North America and Starbucks Europe, you could choose to have Starbucks Europe on ISO standards and Starbucks North America on NIST standards. But when you do that, you have to have two different set of policies that align with each standard. Depending on how you do your business, you can have them aligned with ISO standards in North America and Europe. It would just mean that your policies are now global policies that can be applied to both countries at one time. Each organization is different as to how they want to handle things. What becomes interesting is when an organization has a merger and acquisition, and they're working on two different frameworks. And historically, I dealt with an organization that in North America that was on this framework. They bought out an organization in Europe that was sitting on ISO framework. They said, "Oh, we go by NIST," and they transferred everything to NIST. And then the next year came around, and they had to produce their ISO certification. And they said, "Oh my God, we've changed it all to NIST. What do we have to do?" And my answer to them was the easiest way to do this is to reverse out, keep it as two separate, or flip everything in both companies to ISO. Was there another question that came in?
I don't think so. There's just one comment from Vincent. ISO 27001 would be a good one. Yep, and that's it. Yeah. Amyn.
Sorry, yeah, I'm here. Did I lose you?
Yeah, I think you just got cut off a bit.
Okay, so let me go back. Let me just share here again. Sorry.
No worries.
Okay, I'll try to remember where I was. I think I was here. And we're gonna show you that here. Were there any other questions before I go on?
Yeah, there are no other questions.
Okay. So we look at the formula at the bottom there, cyber risk being threat times vulnerability times
I
information
think you
value.
should share the screen again.
Sorry?
I think you should share the screen again. We can't see the slides.
Okay, let me unshare and then, oh, give me 1 second here. Sure. Can you see?
Um, I don't see anything from my side.
Okay, hold on 1 second here. I will try it one more time. How about now?
Well, we still don't see anything. I think it's also in the internet connection, because you're lagging a bit. Oh yeah, we can see it now.
Okay. There's a bit of a lag. Okay, perfect. Good?
Yes, but sometimes
Okay.
like your audio would be lagging a bit. Just want to let you know.
Okay,
You know.
sorry about that. I am in a remote area, so just let me know if it starts to lag again. I'll be more than happy to recover the points that I went over.
All right.
So last point on this one was the fact that cyber risk, the formula for that is threat times vulnerability times information value. It basically boils down to the nature and the likelihood of a potential threat happening, multiplied by the vulnerability in our systems, and then the value of the information that we're protecting. And when you assess all of these factors put together, you can then allocate enough resources to mitigate and get rid of a lot of the risks. Okay. So how do you prepare for cyber insurance? Well, we said that the first step is comprehensive risk assessments. So when you do a risk assessment, insurers view these as very favorable because it shows your commitment to proactively looking to protect the organization against a breach. So once you've done that, you implement the security measures, which basically means that you have strong security controls in place. And that's the expectations that insurers have, is so that you can have those controls in place. And when I'm saying these controls, I'm referring to multi-factor authentication, firewalls, endpoint detection, responses, EDR, endpoint responses, enforcing strong password policies.
Sorry, everyone. Just a bit of a technical difficulty.
Are we good? Can you see the screen?
Well, we can see you now. We're not seeing the screen.
You're not seeing the screen yet. I do apologize. One second
That
here.
is okay.
Let me know if you can see it now.
Uh, I'm not seeing it on my side.
Okay, hold on. Now.
Yep, we can see it now.
Perfect. Preparing for cyber insurance. So essentially, you're going to conduct your comprehensive cyber risk assessment. Insurers view this as favorable because of the fact that it demonstrates that you are committing to actually being proactive and look for your risks. Implementing robust network security measures, which include multi-factor authentication, firewalls, strong passwords, and implementing data encryption, and regularly updating and patching your systems. Your policies, develop and update your cybersecurity policies. Because things are constantly changing, you want to go into your policies and see what's valid, what's not valid, what has come in. 5 years ago, AI was not in any policy. The use of AI in an organization wasn't in policy. Um, as soon as it comes in, you've got to be careful as to what information you're putting into AI, and be very careful as to who's putting what in AI, because a lot of people don't realize that whatever you put in becomes public knowledge if you're using a public AI system, because that's the way AI learns. It learns from what you put in, and then it can share that with the rest of the world. So developing and updating those security policies are so important. A very important part of this is creating an incident response plan. Okay. In that plan, it should have the roles and responsibilities of team members, communication protocols, set various incident scenarios, because there are multiple different types of incidents that could happen, and recovery guide. So this shows that you're prepared to handle potential cyber breach if it happens. And then the other thing that you need is to provide employees cyber training. Okay. With employee cyber training, this allows regular training, helps mitigate the risk of the human risk of human error, which is common for cyber incidents. By taking these steps in, you don't only improve your chances of obtaining favorable cyber insurance rates, but you also enhance your cybersecurity posture. There's a saying in the cyber world that it's not if you get breached, it's when you get breached. And when you get breached, it's how do you handle that situation when you do get breached. Any questions? When we look at the future of cybersecurity and the evolution and what's evolving here, the future of cybersecurity, there are several key trends that are shaping the landscape right now. Evolving cyber threats, that's ransomware, still going to be the dominant part of risk and loss drivers. Okay, AI is now accelerating because of the automation of hacking, particularly phishing emails. They've become amazing to use. And with that, if you combine the two, you're now starting to see ransomware as a service, in terms of you can reach out to organizations to take down other organizations. You can reach out to attacking organizations to actually pay for people to take down an organization. And this is how criminals are making money. They'll take down an organization, and it's not that expensive. The other thing that's happening right now that we're seeing an increase in is supply chain vulnerabilities. When I say supply chain vulnerabilities, is your third parties, your fourth parties, your fifth parties who don't have sufficient security coverage or controls in their network that seep into your network so that they can have access to the organization, right? When a third party does not have proper security measures in place with proper controls, it becomes a liability to you. And so if you get breached and it's found that it's the third party, the insurance may not pay out your organization, or may partially pay out your organization, after which it has to go after the third party organization for that. AI is huge with respect to an attack, because it is playing two roles. One, it's enhancing capabilities for cyber criminals. But on the flip side of it, it's also providing new tools for insurance to evaluate and price out policies based on how they can see before you even apply for insurance, how you are as an organization and how you are protected as an organization. So this is through monitoring. This is through understanding where an organization is, and there's so many tools out there that can give me a profile, a high level, outside in profile of your organization. So understanding how AI implications will work towards the industry will work on both sides, from the insurance side and from the attacker side. The last part is regulatory changes. So you look at the different bills that are coming in where they are focusing more on a more stringent requirement for organizations to have a proper security program in place in order to protect these organizations and improve their posture. So you look at Canada Bill C-26, out of which OSFI is the regulator for the banking and insurance agencies, and they stipulate what they need to see within those organizations. You look at Law 25 and Ontario 194, which those look at privacy. But even though they're looking at privacy, the main component of that is to have a security program in place in order to protect your organization. And that's a must. This is happening all over the world. The SEC, as I mentioned before, DORA, GDPR, all of these come back to having a program in place. So regulation will actually drive organizations to be more secure. And so cyber insurance markets will continue to evolve rapidly based on these factors in terms of making sure that there's appropriate coverage and the right type of coverage for these organizations. In conclusion, if you look at cybersecurity, risk, and insurance, the cyber landscape is constantly evolving. With AI attacks, ransomware, supply chain, these are the major concerns. Organizations must stay vigilant and adapt these emerging threats. Cyber insurance has become an essential tool for risk management because it's going to reduce the amount of financial loss that you have. But again, I'm going to emphasize that it's crucial to know that cyber insurance alone is not a substitute for strong cybersecurity practices. It should be used as a complement that allows you to build your security program and protect you and limit the financial risk that's associated with cyber incidents. Regular cyber risk assessments are so important to understand where your organization is, what vulnerabilities you have within your organization, prioritize your risks, to allocate resources effectively. And these are crucial for obtaining favorable insurance premiums. And then looking at preparing for cyber insurance, where you have to implement robust security measures and controls, develop comprehensive policies, creating incident response plans, and providing ongoing employee training. Security awareness is so important in order to protect your organizations, because your employees are the ones that will be clicking on those links, that will be clicking in those emails, and they're your first level of defense. So security awareness should be constantly done on a yearly basis, at least once a year, but it should be a daily practice. And what I find interesting is that security awareness is not only in your business. You should actually adopt this for your home life, for your personal life. Because when you think about it, your own personal laptops can get breached. Everybody is susceptible to deep fakes attacks at home, personally. To be honest with you, you see the amount of people that call up and say, hey, we've got your son, we need $10,000, we're at the police station, send us money. And they mimic your son's voice in the background or your daughter's voice in the background, and you panic. That is considered a cyber attack also, because they are using methodologies to actually extort money from you. So, take that cyber awareness training, apply it to your home use, apply it to your personal email when you're at home, when you're accessing your bank. Use two-factor multi-factor authentication, and then you've got to also understand that the future of cyber insurance is dynamic, because with all the challenges and the changes in supply chain and AI, organizations need to stay abreast of what's going on from a cybersecurity perspective and from changes that are happening in technology to make sure that they are protected. And then proactive risk management is key to both insurance and the overall security of an organization. So now when you take all of this into consideration, we have a rapidly changing digital landscape, and the ability to adapt, respond to new threats is crucial. All right. By combining all of the strengths of having a good cyber program, by having a complementary insurance coverage, organizations can better protect themselves against financial and reputational impacts of a cyber incident. With that, that comes to the end of my presentation. I apologize for the technical glitches that we had there. Any questions?
Yes, go ahead, Oliver.
Yeah, hi. I have a quick question. You were mentioning how at the beginning, a large part of insurance is also doing your due diligence as a company, meaning like if you leave the front door open, then coverage may not be provided because of that negligence. Now, I have a question with how things are developing so fast with AI and stuff like that. What was once a closed door may become a front door that's open. And I'm wondering, like, how do you differentiate what is negligence or like something that's not due diligence, or something that because it's a lag, because the hackers are a little bit more knowledgeable with the new stuff, but there's a lag in the current standards of what companies do, and how do you differentiate the two?
So that's a great question, and I appreciate you bringing that up. When you look at that from that perspective, let's take AI, because that's the newest threat that we see out there. That's affecting a lot of organizations. AI has made voice replication, and I'll go back to the incident in Dubai where the bank they made it sound like it was the director of the bank who approved a bank transfer for $35 million. If that bank was doing everything else in terms of its cyber posture, and it lagged in terms, it all depends on when it lagged in terms of AI. Was it aware that AI was a vulnerability? When did the bank do the last assessment? These are factors that will be taken into consideration by insurance agencies. Have they been looking into AI and how to protect against it? Do they have a policy against AI? Well, depending on when, if, and what they've done, will be the determination of the individual insurance company to determine, did you have a concerted effort? If you've done everything, so it goes back to the saying, it's not if you'll get breached, it's when you'll get breached. But what do you have in place to protect you for when you do get breached? If they see that everything else is in place and you are following everything up to form, you can have that AI breach. They may not get to the data because you have other factors and other controls in place to protect you. It may cause a disruption. Insurance may look at that and say, okay, look, we can pay you for the disruption that you had, right? You don't lose anything else. You weren't ransomware. So it all depends on the situation and where the company is with respect to that particular issue that's come up. A zero-day attack, they expect you to patch it as soon as possible. If you have So there's always updates made to software. And if you look at Log4j, that was a lot of Microsoft software, a lot of normal everyday software. If you did not update and patch the Microsoft, or if you did not update in a set amount of time after being informed of the 0-day attack, then that's not due diligence and due care. And so each case has to be measured out differently as to how are they on a normal basis in terms of protecting the organizations? Have they got a good security posture on a normal basis? Was this a one-off that the technology or the 0-day attack came in without them realizing, and that's how they got exposed? So all those factors have to be taken into consideration. Generally, if you have good security hygiene, you will be protected for the most part.
Thank
I
you.
hope that satisfies.
Question. Yeah.
Perfect. Any other questions?
There is one question in the chat. What is the order of magnitude, for example, costs for cyber insurance purchased by companies?
Well, okay. So in terms of cyber insurance purchase for companies, it all depends on what you want covered and how much you want covered, and what your deductible is going to be. And that's a great question because of the fact that it can vary. It's just like your house coverage or your car coverage. When you want insurance for your car, do I want a 0 deductible? Do I want a 500 deductible? Do I want a 1,500 deductible? Do I want third party? And as you start adding features or protections against different areas, your cost of your insurance will actually grow in magnitude. Now, in terms of the actual cost, I'd have to get somebody from insurance to actually answer that question. But it's similar to the concept of auto insurance, where the more stuff you add in protection, the more higher the cost is going to be. Now, there's one point that I just want to reemphasize here, is that one should actually do an assessment as to what cyber insurance do they actually need, because a lot of companies will go in and get cyber insurance in the wrong area, and so they'll have the network protected in terms of cyber insurance for network, but they won't have any coverage for breach or for incident response or business continuity. Those are two separate policies. And there's a multitude of different policies or areas that you can purchase within cybersecurity insurance, depending on what your company actually needs. If you're a company that solely relies on cloud services and SaaS products, you need to get that insurance that covers that area. You don't need network insurance. You need coverage against these cloud providers and the loss of income from those providers if they get breached, because they hold all your data and services. So with that, I'm going to go back to the car, where it depends on how much deductible you want, what type of insurance you want, and which area you want to cover. And it can become fairly expensive. Now, you don't want to pay more to have the coverage than the value of the asset, because I'm not going to pay, if I have a car that's only worth $5,000, I don't want to be buying $10,000 worth of insurance every single year. It's not worth my while. So what you pay to protect that asset should be lower than the asset cost itself. Any other questions? I hope that satisfies your question. Or do you have a follow-up?
I think there's no question in the chat.
Any other questions?
Now, please feel free to unmute yourself if you have any other questions.
And before we go, I just want to thank you for the opportunity to have me here to present. I greatly appreciated it. I really enjoyed this presentation. If you guys have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to me. You have my contact information from before. I am available on LinkedIn, and I'm more than happy to discuss any other further questions and point you to companies that specialize in cyber insurance. It's quite interesting to see that it wasn't a big deal before, and it's become an entire section of coverage that has been spurned from cyber incidents. But if you really look around at coverage, you've had AI affecting, causing incidents since from the mid 2015 onwards, because AI has been around for a while. Machine learning has been around for a while.
All right, I think no one has any other questions. It's also our pleasure to have you. I think we learned a lot about cybersecurity and AI today. I'm just going to conclude the colloquia. Thank you everyone for joining us, and we look forward to having everyone again for the next colloquia. Thank you, everyone. Have a good
Thank you
rest
so
of the
much.
day.